Guys, welcome to the latest edition of Warwick Radio Network's Chats with Mr. IOTBA. Guys, before we get started, we do have to remind everyone that the show is brought to you by FightSaga.com. Guys, for all the latest boxing news, please bookmark and make it your homepage, TheFightSaga.com, for all the latest boxing news. But guys, this would not be an episode of Warwick Radio Chats without the counsel of our very good friend, Mr. IOTBA himself, Mr. Karray. Bradshaw. Karray, how you doing, my friend?
Man, I'm good. Shout out to everybody on Warwick Radio from that 214 to across the pond. Shout out to one of the greats in Joseph Herron. And shout out to Lee Cleveland. Shout out to FightSaga.com. Let's get it popping.
Well, I tell you what, man, we have a ton to discuss. So let's just blow through the syllabus real quick. And later on in the show, we're going to introduce a new segment that Karray and I just came up with. And it's, instead of scrolling up the articles, right, we're scrolling through the Twitter feed. And we're going to be going over and discussing the latest terrible tweets from prize fighters. Oh, guys, this is enough to make you cringe. Some of these boneheaded comments, and we're going to pick them apart and, well, kind of expose these guys for the knuckleheads that they are. And there's a reason why they have handlers and PR people to keep them from, embarrassing themselves on social media. But that doesn't stop them. They go ahead and do that anyway. But right now, guys, we're going to bring everyone up to speed on the latest concerning Joshua versus Fury in Saudi Arabia. Well, it's inching closer, guys, and now we have determined, according to reports from Frank Warren, Eddie Hearn, as well as Bob Arum, that it's going to be on August 14th in possibly a new venue built just for this fight, with the largest site fee in the history of sports, $150 million. That's insane. I've never heard of anything even remotely close to that. Have you, brother?
Wow. Wow.
150 million. And it's obvious, guys, that the Saudi government and Prince Khalid, they're not worried about turning a profit. They're doing this for diplomatic reasons. And they just want to host. They just want to have this, right? They just want to say that they're the ones who hosted the biggest heavyweight fight in recent memory, and the only heavyweight unification in the four-belt era, right? For the very first time in the four-belt era, this is going to be two of the best heavyweights squaring off for all four major world titles. So this is something truly historic. The Saudis obviously see it that way, and they want to be the ones to host the party. Right. And what's interesting about this is that this is going to be, according to reports from Bob Arum, and I'll read his entire commentary. Right. But according to Bob Arum, it's going to take place between 11 and midnight Saudi time, which means the coverage is going to start very early. In Central Time, where we're in Texas, both Karray and I. So that means coverage from DAZN should start probably around 11 a.m. and the main event should be staged around 4 p.m. our time, right? Between 3 and 4 p.m. our time. That's how early this fight is going to be, because it's going to be staged in Saudi Arabia. But here's the latest quotes from Bob Arum. And of course, last week he was very doubtful that it would take place. But I guess it is true that good things come to those who wait. And so this is what he had to say. These deals are very, very complex, especially when it's a lot of money like this. It's very complex. Everybody's been trying to get this done, and we have a couple of issues. Nothing between the fighters to deal with. They're not usual issues, but they have to be resolved. We sent the principals of Saudi Arabia a memo on behalf of the promotion, and they said it's the holiday, it's the end of Ramadan, and no one is in the office. They need the Minister of Sports approval, and they told us we should expect an answer by Saturday or Sunday. end quote. So, guys, they have the reserved date for August 14th, and Aram went ahead and reserved the ESPN pay-per-view for August 14th in the United States, right? So even though it's going to be on DAZN UK, or is it DAZN UK or is it Sky Sports? Is it the last event with Sky Sports? I'm not sure how it's going to be distributed in the UK, but it's going to be on ESPN pay-per-view in America, with the coverage starting probably about 11 a.m. Your thoughts on all of this? Because I know a lot of people, and we're going to get into this in just a second, but I know a lot of fans, right? A lot of Wilderettes, a lot of Wilder delusional Scientologists seem to think that the arbitration is the reason why this is being held up. And that's absolute garbage. Your thoughts on all of this, because, and we're going to go into this, and I'm going to once again remind everyone what arbitration is and why this is happening, right? And it doesn't give it merit, or it doesn't mean it's feasible or justified. And I'm going to explain why. But your thoughts on this finally looks like it's going to be announced next week, Karray.
Yeah, first off, to all the Wilder fans who think this is because of arbitration, you're as delusional as they come. Second off, shout out to the Saudis, because this is for boxing. Even though they have billions behind them and it's being funded by the government, but this is for boxing. When you're putting on Undisputed, this is what's good for the sport of boxing, to see the two top heavyweights going at each other. That's what we need in boxing. Do I care about the time? Absolutely not. I wouldn't care if it was 10 o'clock in the morning, because when you put on a show like Anthony Joshua versus Tyson Fury for Undisputed, that's a can't miss. That's something you set your alarm for and wake up if it was 8 o'clock in the morning. So shout out to the Saudis for really representing the sport of boxing in a tremendous way. And the money that they are funding for this event, it shows that 100%.
Oh, absolutely. And what's funny, and it's going to be receiving, right, some criticism because of all the human rights issues in Saudi Arabia. And boxing obviously is going to be criticized because of this, saying that we shouldn't be staging an event in Saudi Arabia. If anything, we should be boycotting this. And, well, in true boxing fashion, we're going to give them the big one-gun salute and say, shut up, because these guys are paying $150 million to see and to stage the biggest heavyweight fight in recent memory. Guys, this is going to be a very historic bout, right? So let's go, and we're going to change the ticker here, right? Let's change the banner. Can you see the banner there?
Oh, yeah, Wilderettes in the arbitration. But let me say this before you go on to the next topic, Joseph. Not to be insensitive to the people who have a problem with some of the things that's not appeasing to them that's going on in Saudi Arabia. But this is my thing right here. As much stuff as we have going on here in America, and y'all trying to come in Saudi Arabia, shut up. I'm sorry about that, Joseph.
No. It's absolutely true. Look, and here's to all the critics that don't even watch boxing anyway. Look, guys, we've seen what you've done to the NBA, injecting your political beliefs in that league. It's made it an unwatchable product. We've seen what you've tried to do to the MLB and the NFL. Please stay away from our beloved boxing. You don't even watch the damn sport. Okay? We watch these pastimes to get away from politics, right? We don't want to be reminded of your mess and your, fruitless squabbles. Have you ever tried to debate anyone politically, Karray? It's fruitless. It's
Yes, it's
fruitless.
ruthless.
It's like it's almost like, and when you try to talk to someone about politics, as in boxing, sometimes it's almost like they don't even listen. They just wait for you to stop talking so they can just put in their 2 cents. It's a waste of time, guys. So I know you politically, venomous tribe, you guys, you think pastimes is a waste of time. Guys, that is so much more fulfilling than talking about political rubbish. So please keep it very far away from our boxing. And if any of you fighters try to say anything political at any of your events, boy, we're going to give you the one gun salute as well and tell you to shut the F up, man. Okay? That's it. Well, I tell you what, man. Boy, these people just cannot be. And you know what I think it is? These people are upset that they can't be happy. Like they seriously, they can't be happy, and they get jealous seeing guys like you and I, Karray, who can actually sit down, forget about everything for a few hours, and actually enjoy life while watching our favorite pastime. Right? Seriously, I think they're just jealous. Seriously, I think they're just jealous. And it's like we can watch a fight card, right? And take a nice 3-hour vacation from life. And we can enjoy ourselves.
Yeah, and that's where they forget. Life is more than politics. We don't want to talk politics 24/7. We don't know. Want to know about how you feel. We're trying to get away from a lot of destruction that's going on in this world in the first place. We have a chance to sit and enjoy ourselves with our family, with our loved ones, the people who we really enjoy, to watch a sport, to clear our mind from them hours. And you people, you steady try to restrain us from doing that. It's ridiculous. So please, shut up, sit down, and mind your business.
You know what? And I tell you what, why don't you pull up a chair beside us and actually enjoy the splendor of this amazing heavyweight fight that's about to go down on August 14th, right? You might, for a minute, forget about your pathetic lives and enjoy the big fight. Come on now. Ching. Oh, man. Seriously. It's like, dude. But I tell you what, speaking of getting a life, how about them Wilder fans? It's like, can you even call them real fans of boxing?
No.
I mean, seriously, they're hoping that the biggest heavyweight fight in recent memory and the only true unification championship fight in the 4-belt era, they're hoping that it doesn't happen. So they're hoping so can they call themselves fight fans after all?
No, not at all. It's disturbing. It's disturbing for the Wilder fans to come out and say some of the things like this, or not even want a big time fight to go on because their guy didn't step up to the plate and he didn't win, and he ain't in this big fight that's about to happen allegedly in Saudi Arabia on August the 14th. Hey, it's not boxing fault that Wilder lost to Tyson Fury. It's not boxing fault that when Deontay Wilder and Anthony Joshua was the biggest fight to be made in boxing, Wilder felt like he was the bigger fighter. It's not our fault that he lost out on that $100+ million deal. So for you fans to come out, it's annoying and it's disturbing, especially to the sport of boxing that we love, that we're trying to get to grow, that we actually want to see these type of fights that's going to help the sport grow and bring in a lot of fans who are just casuals or people who just really love the sport of boxing. Like, it's disturbing for you Wilder fans to be that obsessed with this guy and the excuses he make, and just you talking about not happy. Like we was talking about them other guys. These Wilder fans, they are really lost. It's like they have no soul because their guy lost a boxing match. Hey, Joseph, this about boxing. You know this like I know this. You win some, you lose some, you live to see another day. It's not our fault that Wilder and his fans can't accept reality of what went down with him and Tyson Fury. He lost. In boxing, you pick your boots back up. You keep going. You don't sit up here and make excuses and hope that big-time matchups don't happen because your guy's not in it. And your guy, when he had a chance to step up to the plate, he lost. So stop the idiocy that's going around with you Wilder fans.
Yeah, boy, that was very well stated, man. Take a deep breath now, Karray. I tell you what, you just have to laugh, though, guys, because once again, it was announced on Tuesday, right, that apparently the arbitration began this week, and apparently Wilder is looking for either damages or to enforce the third fight between Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder, right? And guys, anyone who thinks, because anyone can file suit against anyone. Like I could file a lawsuit against Karray in my county, whether it's feasible, justified, or warranted or not. And he would have to show up in court and defend himself. Otherwise, I would be rewarded a default judgment if he didn't show up, and I would win, whether it's justified or not. This is the problem, okay? And so people don't realize that when it's a contract dispute like this, it's always a clause in the contract that you go through grievance, mediation, or arbitration, right? It doesn't mean that Wilder has a leg to stand on. It just means that this is the process. And the reason why it's factored into the contract that way is to avoid the high price of litigation as well as the lengthy timetable of suit, right? So this is a standard procedure in boxing. This isn't just something that, oh, well, there must be something to this. No, there's nothing to this. And everyone knows this except for Wilder and Shelley Finkel, who are trying to get something out of nothing. What are they trying to get? A third fight? There is no interest in a third fight, or else ESPN and Fox would have already been all over this. They lost money the first time. They lost money the first time. The only parties who actually made money in the second fight were Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder. They were both guaranteed $25 million. So no arbitrator in their right mind would get damages for for a fight that never happened, right? So arbitration, guys, and let me just spell out what this is. This is being resided by a retired judge, right? So this is not a judgment. This is ruling. However he decides is merely a recommendation to see that if this is feasible for either settlement or lawsuit. So if the judge rules in, like if he sees that Deontay Wilder should be rewarded damages, Tyson Fury, Top Rank, Fox, PBC, ESPN, all parties involved, it doesn't mean they have to abide by this. They don't have to honor this. It still can be disputed. And so then Deontay Wilder, if he wants to take this any further, would have to file suit. This is not a judgment. This is not a writ of garnishment. This is a fucking waste of time and money. Yep. And for some reason, the Wilderettes don't see this. You know what Wilder fans remind me of? Do you remember the Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown?
Uh-huh.
They remind me of Linus sitting in the pumpkin patch waiting for the Great Pumpkin to arrive, and it's not coming. Like, guys, move on. Enjoy all of the other fights that are being made. This is absurd. This is absolute dog shit.
Yep.
So, guys, we're going to move on. We're going to talk about the real fight that's actually coming up on August 14th.
Yeah,
So you see the ticker? You see the ticker there, brother? I mean, your final thoughts on this before we move on, because these guys are a waste of time. And to be honest with you, yeah, I don't even think they're real fight fans.
Yeah, exactly like you just stated, Joseph. This is a lot of time, resources, and money wasted. Because for this to be going to arbitration, it's absolutely garbage. As a matter of fact, Deontay Wilder, he was the first one who needed more time with his surgery. Then Top Rank gave him an extension. He let the extension pass. He let the extension pass by. So look, this is not X's and O's. This is just as simple as ABC 1, 2, 3. Deontay Wilder, he let the extension pass by. This is called self. This is something he did himself. So with this arbitration going on and all these Wilder fans and Deontay Wilder doing this is a lot of time, money, and resources wasted. And just think about what you said, Joseph. Even if the arbitrator give his recommendation, it's up to Deontay Wilder to take it to a higher court. Do you actually think a higher court, with all this information that's presented in front of you guys, which is facts, and what they say about facts, that's something you can't deny. There's no way no higher court will see all the facts surrounding this case and put judgment in Deontay Wilder's favor. Like I said, this is a lot of time and resources and money wasted on this garbage of an arbitration that Deontay Wilder, Shelly Finkel, a.k.a. Uncle Fester, and this camp is putting together.
Yeah, it's absolute garbage, a waste of time. And guys, we're not going to spend any more time on it because it's these guys are living in fantasy land, right? So let's look at the odds. Anthony Joshua, the odds, the line has been out, and this is an even money fight, with Tyson Fury being the slight favorite at a minus 175, with Anthony Joshua being the very live underdog at plus 145. Do you agree with these odds? So basically, the handicappers, Karray, have cited this as basically an even money fight and a pick'em fight. Flip a coin, basically, is what they're saying.
And I agree with them 100% on flip a coin. It's just like this fight right here. I know it's a totally different fight, totally different weight and context. But it just reminds me of when Sugar Ray Leonard fought Roberto Duran. After Roberto Duran had this big victory, he was out partying and doing all this. Even though the time is lengther, it's been over 14 months since Tyson Fury been in the ring. But if you scroll up your articles and you look at this guy, you see him around a lot, doing a lot of partying, whoop-de-whoop, this and that and this. And I'm like, oh my God. Like that's not showing me a good sign. Hey, I'm not saying that he's not working hard, but what mostly I'm saying is this guy partying. So I pick it as I agree with the odd makers. It's a coin flip. But right now, as we speak right now, I'm leaning towards Anthony Joshua because I see Tyson Fury out here, doing a lot of partying. Not saying he's not doing any hard work. This just feel like deja vu to me, just in a different way.
Oh, dude, I tell you what, man, it's interesting, man. You know what, man, both of these guys have been out of the ring for a while. Obviously, Anthony Joshua fought Kubrat Pulev this past December, right? So, yeah, Fury hasn't been in the ring since February of 2020 when he beat Wilder. You think this is really going to affect Tyson Fury? That's what you're saying. You think Tyson Fury has had too much time on his hands?
I truly do. And the reason why I say that is because what I'm seeing from Tyson Fury, when I'm seeing him out here socializing, and hey, he's a human. He has the right to socialize. I don't tell these boxers they don't have the right to have fun. But at the end of the day, I know boxing is a serious sport. And one thing, you know, a lot of the great trainers around my city and all over the world I had the chance to associate with, they tell me you can't play boxing. Hey, like I said, I'm not trying to put this jacket on Tyson Fury's back. But the thing is, if I'm seeing this out here of Tyson Fury, you know what they say about perception. It's everything. Not meaning it's true. Not meaning the perception of what I'm seeing is true. It's just the perception right now is saying this guy's got having a little bit too much fun and he done had a little bit too much time on his hand. And it goes back to earlier in his career, you know, after he got that big win against Vladimir Klitschko. You know, we seen this guy ballooned up like the Michelin Man, and you know, we know the story behind that. But like I say, I know, I'm not saying that it's true that he's not working. It's just a perception, Joseph, of what I see right now is this guy out here having a lot of fun.
Well, don't fool yourself, brother, because Tyson Fury, and he's got my brother Javen Sugar Hill next to him for a reason, right? I know Javen is a cool guy to hang out with, and his sarcasm is legendary, right? He's a genuinely funny guy to be around. But that's not why he's around Tyson Fury right now. They're working, brother. I know they took a couple days off to hang out with and support Billy Joe Saunders against Canelo Alvarez. But make no mistake about it. Tyson Fury understands what's at stake, right? Even though he talks very little, he seemingly has very little positive things to say, very few positive things to say about his upcoming opponent, Anthony Joshua. But Sugar Hill knows better. Javen understands that Anthony Joshua is a very dangerous champion. He's a very humble guy, and he's a very hard-working fighter. He's a guy who doesn't party. He's a guy who consistently stays in shape, and he's going to be a very hard assignment on August 14th. In terms of stylistic matchup, who do you actually like in this fight?
As far as stylistically, I'm not gonna lie to you. I like Tyson Fury's style more than I like Anthony Joshua's style. I think Tyson Fury is more the slicker fighter. I think his amateur pedigree, even though Anthony Joshua won a gold medal, I think he has way more amateur pedigree than Anthony Joshua. So stylistically, I like Tyson Fury's style going against Anthony Joshua. It's just, you know, the perception of what I'm seeing in Tyson Fury, and I agree with you 100%. Like, nobody could give information like Joseph Herron. He know that camp and Javen and, the camp down there in Detroit. Oh, man, I'm having a brain fart. He know that camp well, Joseph. So
the Kronk?
Yeah, the Kronk gym. So I won't disagree with you on that. And you know that man personally, and you know Emmanuel Stewart. So I have to take you for your word on that. I just want to see Tyson Fury putting in work, and I want to see less pictures of him and videos of him out here partying and stuff. But stylistically, I think if we're looking at each fighter, I think stylistically, there's no way you can't say that technically Tyson Fury is the better. He has the better style stylistically out of the two.
Well, the reason why he's listed as a slight betting favorite, right, even though he's had such a long time off out of the ring, is because he's a chameleon. He can adapt to whatever style is in front of him. Sugar knows this, right? And what gave Deontay Wilder problems in the first fight and the second fight is going to give AJ problems as well. Anthony Joshua is a counterpuncher by trade. He's an aggressive-minded counterpuncher, though. But the problems that gave Vladimir Klitschko against Tyson Fury are going to be there as well. It's Tyson Fury's intelligent jab and all of his herky-jerky upper body and head movement It's going to freeze Anthony Joshua. He's not going to know when to get off. Tyson Fury's footwork, his upper body and head movement, his intelligent jab, it's going to give Anthony Joshua a ton of issues in this fight. If AJ is smart and if his trainers do their homework, their best bet and what they should be working on is trying to win the jab contest to the body and head and taking the lead, getting off first. That's their best chance for victory. If they do not work on those things, they will have a hard time from the opening bell on. So I favor Tyson Fury in this. I don't think he knocks out Anthony Joshua, but I think he wins a very lackluster and actionless 12-round decision a la his fight against Vladimir Klitschko. I think it's going to be a very uneventful fight. And with all the money that these Saudis spent, they're going to feel a little gypped.
but
look, and this is what makes Tyson so difficult. He's going to take whatever you give him. He's not above stinking out the joint just to get the W. And in my opinion, he's going to win the fight on his intelligent jab and his footwork alone. He's going to be freezing AJ all night long. Unless AJ works on aggressively taking the lead and getting off first, he's going to always be second-guessing himself, and he's going to appear to be gun-shy. Your final thoughts on this before we move on?
Yeah, I agree with you to a certain extent. I don't think Tyson Fury is going to make this lackluster. I think he's seen the type of fame that he got, the way he went out there and defeated Deontay Wilder in extraordinary fashion. I think that guy, I think it clicked in his head that, you know, this right here what makes the world go round. I think stylistically he has the style to test Anthony Joshua, because we know in past fights we've seen Anthony Joshua chin get tested, and with a 6'9", 280-pound man coming at you, I think Tyson Fury is going to test Anthony Joshua early, and I think he's going to test him often. So I disagree with you when you say it's going to be lackluster. I think Tyson Fury, if he got the right mind, if he's putting in the hard work and, you know, not doing all the extracurricular activities, I think he's coming in here to put on a show against Anthony Joshua.
Well, you know what? For your sake, for the sake of the sport, and for the sake of the fans, I hope you're right, because this is a big fight. I just don't think with Anthony Joshua's power, with his hand speed, with his ability to work on the inside, where Deontay Wilder didn't know how to fight off his back foot. He didn't know how to work on the inside. And as soon as Tyson Fury found range and pushed him back, he had his way with him. That's not going to be the case with Anthony Joshua. This is why I say I think it's going to be a little more of a chess match in this fight. But, guys, we're moving on. We're going to talk about our latest addition to the War Week Radio Chats. Can you read the banner there, brother?
Terrible tweets from fighters.
And there it is, brother. So we go to our number one terrible tweet today, Thursday, May 13th, right? This is Michael Hunter, right? And once again, he was supposed to fight Filip Hrgović, right, in a title eliminator bout. Purse bid was won by Matchroom Sport last week or a couple weeks ago. And I knew this was going to happen because the purse bid amount that was won was just a little over $300,000 and some change. So as soon as Michael Hunter got a better offer to fight for more money against a lesser opponent on Triller, I knew he was going to take it. I knew it. Absolutely knew it. So he's been getting lambasted on Twitter, and this is what his response was. Terrible tweet number one, brother. Quote, look, G, as fighters, we are providing a service. We set the price and say who will get a discount, who will pay full price, and who will get a free fight coupon. Not the fans, nor the rich promotional companies. Hope you understand. Have a blessed day, Michael Hunter.
Wow.
I don't even know where to begin with that, man, because that is absolute garbage.
What a prick.
Okay, so let's go to this first. We fighters are providing a service. I'm sorry, you guys first responders or something? Dude, you guys take shots to the head for our entertainment. It's a service. Yeah, okay. Right. All right, it's a service. We set the price, okay? Once again, that's why he's an ignorant fighter. Guys, the market always sets the price. Right? The market always sets the price, which is why your purse bid was only a little bit above $300,000. Because there is no demand to see you fight, Michael Hunter. Not the fans nor the rich promotional companies set the price, is what he says. And this is the problem with boxing today. In healthier eras, fighters, promoters, everyone in the industry understood the fans were the real bosses of boxing. The fans were the real bosses of boxing. Everyone from Floyd Mayweather to Sugar Ray Leonard to Muhammad Ali to Sugar Ray Robinson, they understood, as big as their egos were, they understood that the fans were the real bosses of boxing. This idiot doesn't understand this, apparently. Okay, well, Michael, who do you think pays your bills? Why do you think you're making chump change while all of these other heavyweights, like Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua, are set to make $75 million apiece? And that's not including the pay-per-view. Why do you think that is, buddy? I'm sorry, did they set that price? If you set the price, how come you're not fighting for that much, brother? Complete ignorance is what it is. There's no demand to see Michael Hunter fight. No one cares. Brother, you could sit. Do you think that anyone is going to order that Triller pay-per-view to see you? Karray, is there anyone who's going to order that Triller pay-per-view to see Michael Hunter?
Absolutely not. Not one soul on this planet could tell me, well, I'm not going to say not one soul because he may have about 20 family members who ordered a fight for him.
No, dude, they're not. They're going to crack stream it, brother.
but you know what, Joseph? That just shows you the idiocy in the sport of boxing right now. Like when you come in the sport of boxing, it's about building yourself, you know, about setting a legacy and going after greatness. This guy has a fight for a title eliminator. You know, all fighters, they hope and dream and wish that they make it to that pinnacle where they just have the opportunity to get in a position like this and possibly, if they win, fight for the title. And this cornball have the audacity to tell us, the fans, the real bosses of boxing, they're like, it's a service. What are you? You a Marine or you in the Army? Like Joe said, are you a firefighter? Are you a policeman? Because them are real services that actual people are doing for this country we live in. Like the dyslexic in this comment that he made, like the ignorance, the foolishness, and the arrogance, the main thing, the arrogance of this dude to have the audacity to type this. It's mind-boggling and shocking. And that's the reason why a lot of people look at boxing as a clown show, but not here on War Week Radio, because we're going to stop that. Because on Terrible Tweets, we're going to address the BS these ignorant fighters say and put them in their place.
Here, brother. Very well said. And, so we're going to move on to the next terrible tweet. And number 2 and number 3 really should be combined. It's from Caleb Plant, right? This is what Caleb Plant tweeted regarding the Canelo negotiations. Quote, I'm not looking for a penny more than I'm owed, but I also don't want a penny less. I know what some have been paid to fight Canelo, and I feel Eddie Hearn kind of sold both Smith and BJ Saunders out for just a little bit of money. I just want it to be fair, end quote. This guy is already pricing himself out of this fight.
Wow.
Yeah, this guy, look, if he thinks that Saunders making $8 million to fight Canelo was chump change, okay, you can easily interpret this as saying he's already pricing himself out of this fight. These PBC fighters are something else, man.
Man.
They've grown accustomed to making millions of dollars for soft touches. So how much do you think they're going to expect to face the best pound-for-pound fighter in boxing? They're suffering from what I like to call Mikey Garcia syndrome. They think they're worth a lot more than what they are. Caleb Plant, are you a ticket seller? Are you a big attraction? Well, dude, have you ever garnered 3-4 million viewers on Fox? Have you ever headlined a big time event? Like, what do you think you're worth, brother? Like, he and Michael Hunter need to get together, man, and, dude, share a condo in Fantasyland, because that's where they're currently living.
You know, Joseph, like the nerve of Caleb Plant, like him, like I could expect it's another amount of fighters on PBC who could sit up there and at least have a little say so, but this guy, like, come on, y'all, let's be honest and unbiased about this situation. Let's look at this guy's resume. And this is no disrespect to none of the fighters, because to get in that square circle, you got to be built a different, certain type of way. But if we're going to be honest and unbiased about that, everybody who get in that square circle, they not just the best of the fighter. But I give every fighter credit who get in there. And if we look at Caleb Plant's resume over his previous couple of fights, dude, are you crazy? Like, did this dude fall and bump his head before he made that comment talking about he want to get paid what he deserved? Did you just hear Joseph Herron? Billy Joe Saunders got paid $8 million. You talking about you just wanted to be treated right? So if $8 million ain't enough for Billy Joe, a 2-division champion, to you, Caleb Plant, who ain't fought nobody respectfully, what you looking for, 16 or 20 million? Like, it's absurd the way these PBC fighters think. It's absurd. These dudes really think they are the gods of boxing when it comes to stepping in that square circle. And it's a damn shame that you got a guy like Caleb Plant who have never been on the stage like this. Never, even if he get paid $4 or $5 million, never seen $3 or $4 million. And you complain talking about you want to be treated fair? Well, what about your last fight? Was you treated fair because you was fighting that other dude, Caleb? Can't think of his name, but he fought another Caleb. A guy
Caleb Truax.
Yeah, Caleb Truax, a previous champion from 160 moving up to 168. Was you complaining about that when you got paid? Because I guarantee you, it was nowhere near 1 or 2 million. It was nowhere near 2 million. It was nowhere near 3 million. It was nowhere near 4 million. Oh, but when it comes to Canelo, now, since a guy who ain't fought nobody in Caleb Plant, you want to think that you're somebody. Dude, stop.
Yeah, it's embarrassing, man. It's embarrassing. So we're going to go ahead and move on to the third terrible tweet, and it's once again from Caleb Plant. And this maybe shed some light on why he holds himself in such a high regard, even though he couldn't sell out my living room on a Saturday night. So here it is, quote, with Saunders, I think people misconstrue the fact that maybe because he and I have some slickness to our style that we're the same fighter. To me, that's disrespectful. Just the amount of discipline alone that I possess over him is disrespectful. The amount of discipline I have, the athletic ability that I have, Billy, he's quick. He's got some quickness, but he's not explosive. It's disrespectful to think that he and I are the same fighter, end quote.
Wow.
Brother, I hate to say this, Caleb, but he's fought much better opposition than you. He's a 2-division world champion. Yes, he's undefeated just like you are, man, but who have you fought, man, since you've actually won the title? Who have you fought since you've won the title? Brother, you are nowhere near as polished or prepared to fight Canelo Alvarez. In my opinion, Karray, this is the real reason why he is going to price himself out of this fight. There's a reason why he's going to price himself out of this fight.
Like, you know what bothers me about this, Joseph? His statement, he said right there, he said, not on my level. Like, what is your level, Caleb Plant, respectfully? We ain't seen you up against great opposition to even tell you, like, what type of level that you're on. So for you to disrespect Billy Joe Saunders and say that he's not on your level, like, dude, who the hell do you think you are? Like, what level are you on with me and everybody from the 214 to across the pond could judge you and say, oh, you're on a better level than Billy Joe Saunders? Once again, Joseph, the arrogance of these PBC fighters, and you make an excellent point. It's a clear case. You could shut the door. He is telling everybody around the world, I'm going to do everything I can to make sure I avoid this Canelo fight. Because when this guy is trying to make himself seem like he's a better fighter or on a better level than Billy Joe Saunders, oh my God.
Yep. Look, in my opinion, he is nowhere near polished or prepared to even be competitive against Canelo Alvarez. He doesn't have the intelligent jab that Billy Joe Saunders has. He doesn't have the pedigree that's going to prepare him for, well, the best fighter in boxing, Canelo Alvarez, right?
Mm-hmm. And this is no disrespect to Caleb Plant.
No. Look, no disrespect. You're just not ready, and you're not acting enough. Look, dude, you're going from in the immortal words of Teddy Atlas, you're jumping from the wading pool into the ocean. Dude, I don't know how else to say it, but brother, you're greener than the money you won't be making fighting Canelo Alvarez. Look, this guy is already working on pricing himself out. And I'll say this, PBC is becoming a joke.
Ooh,
look,
is it?
Look, they ruined the Joshua Wilder, right? Potential heavyweight fight that everyone wanted to see several years ago. They're ruining Spence versus Crawford, right? And they're going to ruin this fight. Look, let me break it down to you. Canelo is the draw. He's the big fish. Even though he wants your title, he doesn't need it. He doesn't need you. He doesn't need Al Heyman. He doesn't need anyone. He sets the terms, young man. And if you want to play a pain-in-the-ass negotiator like Mikey Garcia, guess what? You're going to be without a big fight just like him. So ask Mikey Garcia to move over on the shelf because you're going to be sitting right next to him. All right? Look, if you really wanted this fight, you would take what Canelo offers and you'd tell him thank you. Okay?
And Caleb
but
Plant,
you're not going to because you're not ready. You know it. Heyman knows it. In my opinion, Karray, in my professional opinion, Caleb Plant and Al Heyman are going to hijack this title and keep it as long as they can. Don't be surprised if he fights someone else in the interim. And I don't even think it's going to be David Benavidez. Right? That would be a great fight. And that would prepare him. If he gets past David Benavidez, That would prepare him for Canelo Alvarez. But he's not even going to do that. He's going to continue, just like Jermall Charlo, continue fighting the Bum of the Month Club, and he's going to hang on to that title. I mean, come on. Look what Al Heyman, and I love Adonis. Adonis Stevenson's my brother, former fighter for Javen Sugar Hill, former fighter for the Kronk Gym, Emmanuel Stewart. Love the guy. But look what happened when everyone wanted to see Adonis fight Sergey Kovalev. Did Heyman actually lobby for that fight? Did they try to make that fight? No. They're going to protect that title holder, his lone title holder at super middleweight. They are not going to fight Canelo Alvarez. The only way that they're going to fight Canelo Alvarez is if he agrees to compete on Fox PBC, and if he agrees to a multi-fight deal with PBC with 2 or 3 other Heyman fighters. That's the only way Heyman agrees to this.
Hey,
Otherwise,
Joseph,
forget it. They will not allow Caleb Plant to fight on DAZN.
Hey Joseph, you
That's
make
it.
an excellent point when you told Caleb Plant, Canelo is the big fish. He does not need you, not one bit at all. Like, you think that Canelo is gonna sit around and wait on you to become undisputed? You think that mean anything to him? Obviously, he'll want to become undisputed, but do you think this will mean something to Canelo, who a big draw against anybody? Excellent point, Joseph.
You know, to be honest with you, in my opinion, I think he may fight Demetrius Andrade next. He may fight Gennady Golovkin next. Because in my opinion, just from looking at his historically, right, the way BBC have handled these situations, I think they're going to price themselves out of this fight, either by wanting options on his future fights or just demanding too much money, like $15 million. Right? This is just historically what they do. And in my opinion, it's not worth it for Heyman to lose another one of his title holders. Right?
Agree 100%.
That's just my. So we're going to move on to some more terrible tweets. Right? Here's the 4th and final one. This is from Floyd Mayweather. You know what? As much as I love me some Floyd Mayweather, and he was a great fighter, he was great for the sport, why can't he just enjoy his retirement? Just stay out of boxing. Just shut up. Just quit taking the shine off of some of these fighters, these hardworking guys who are trying to make a name for themselves, right? So this is what he tweeted today. Quote, hey, I'm the pioneer of this sport. The first athlete to make over $1 billion with no sponsors. The first fighter to fight an MMA fighter. I made exhibition fights the way they are today. End quote. You know what? He wasn't the first fighter to compete in an exhibition. This is something that is old as boxing itself, right? Exhibitions were a common thing. But here's the difference. Most of the big money makers and the biggest stars of the sport competed in these exhibitions, and their purses were donated to charity, right? Sugar Ray Robinson, Muhammad Ali. You just go back in time, Joe Louis. Like exhibitions, they used to stage, they've always staged these. It wasn't until Floyd Mayweather wanted to make some money that he decided to pocket exhibition money. Okay, so he's beating his chest saying that he's made, let me read that again. I made exhibition fights what they are today. What, bad for boxing? What, a money grab? You made it what it is today because it's a farce and it's an embarrassment to the sport. This is an embarrassment. Like, I agree. I mean, come on, man. This is absurd. Like, this is not good for the sport. And he's beating, man, Floyd, just dude, be a promoter, man. Get back to the to the sport that made you a very wealthy man. Give back to the sport. There's nothing wrong with that. You're doing a great job, you and Leonard Ellerby, as a promoter, right?
Mm-hmm.
Support him, dude. Bolster the promotion, bolster the reputation of your man, Gervonta Davis.
Wow.
Get ready for his fight against Mario Barrios.
Yep.
Like, what is this? In my opinion, and this is what I think the truth is, right? This is the only reason why he's doing this. Steven Espinosa and Showtime, they were not happy with Mayweather Promotions. They were not happy with the ratings that boxing has been providing for the Showtime platform. In my opinion, the only reason why he's doing this, and he's cutting Showtime in on the deal, is to make them a little bit of money so they can fund all of the Showtime TV dates for his entire stable of fighters. And if that's the reason why he's doing it, then you know what? I'm all for that, and I hope the event is a big success. But dude, shut the hell up and focus on your promotional stable, right?
Yeah.
He's got a lot of really good young fighters. And Karray, you like a fight that is going to be announced within the next couple of days.
Yes, sir.
And that's Ryan Garcia versus Rolly Romero.
Love that fight.
Right? And Ryan Garcia has been taking a lot of heat lately because obviously he was scheduled to fight Javier Fortuna, former champion, and the number 10 ranked lightweight in the world. Well, he went on seemingly a mental sabbatical. Well, now he's already back. And it looks like he's going to be fighting Floyd's fighter, Rolly Romero, in the interim. Rolly Romero, even though he's the interim WBA titleist, and no, I'm not going to call him a champion. Okay? And he's the number 27th lightweight in the world. But Karray, you like this fight, don't you?
Yeah, I love this fight because I think Rolly is one of the young, up-and-coming, explosive young lightweights in boxing. I don't think he's as technically gifted as a lot of them, but I think one thing that coaches dream for of fighters is when they step into that gym is that explosive power. Not only does Rolly have explosive power, he has the charisma, and especially with him and Ryan Garcia, they beef that they have going on. I mean, this is going to be a big-time fight, and the reason why I love this fight, they two young fighters. It's two young fighters going at each other for supremacy. And that's another thing. You got Floyd Mayweather, speaking of him, in a terrible tweet, right? It's like, Joseph, you made a great point when you speak on Gervonta Davis. That's a young star in boxing. He's a young up-and-coming star in boxing. He's one of the young best fighters in boxing with a lot of publicity around him. Joseph, people not even talking about his fight coming up with Mario Barrios because of Floyd Mayweather. And if I'm Gervonta Davis, I'm thinking to myself like, dude, you is fighting an exhibition that we know is going to be like a wrestling match because it's going to be scripted. I'm actually going into a fight into a third division, into 140. I'm one of the most talked about young fighters in the world, and you still making everything about you? Joseph, you made an excellent point that Showtime may be upset with him, but if I'm Gervonta Davis, I can give a damn if Showtime...
Well, look, it's obvious that they were unhappy with Floyd Mayweather and they were looking at possibly going in another direction. They're unhappy with the fights that PBC and Floyd were selling them, right? Because they started doing business once again with Bellator. And they started filling up the fight schedule with MMA dates, right? That said it all. And in my opinion, that's the only reason why Floyd Mayweather is going through this. If that is the case, and it's the reason why we're getting all of these great matchups on the summer Showtime calendar, then I'm all for it, and I hope it does really well and makes Showtime some money for once. Because none of these events are making Showtime money in the interim, and their ratings are piss poor. So I'm hoping they make a little bit of money from this Floyd fight. But yeah, it's an embarrassment. It's going to be a farce. Like I'm not going to purchase this, and I'm not going to allow Fight Saga to purchase this for me either. It's an embarrassment, dude. Gotcha, hack. Come on, man. Look, okay, so let's shift gears and let's talk about a great fight coming up on Showtime this Saturday night. Guys, this is an excellent fight. Brandon Figueroa is going to compete for his first major world title against WBC Super Bantamweight champion Luis Neri Hernandez at the Dignity Health Sports Park in Carson, California, formerly the StubHub Center, aka the Thunderdome in Southern Cal. Right? This is a great fight, guys. If you're not aware of this matchup, buckle up. This is all action, and this has Fight of the Year written all over it. Brandon Figueroa, guys, he is a lot like his older brother. He's a switch-hitting, aggressive-minded, two-fisted powerhouse, right? And for the benefit of the fans, he likes to block punches with his face. Okay, this may not benefit him against a very hard, well, juicing fighter like Luis Neri, who's already been popped for PEDs several times.
Only in boxing. Only in boxing.
Oh, of course, man. Only in boxing, brother. So, but guys, nonetheless, this is a superb matchup. This has Fight of the Year written all over it. I just hope he didn't balloon up between fights like his dumbass brother. Look, I've known Omar and Brandon and Omar Sr. For a very long time, and they're very good people. But at least Omar Sr. is. And hopefully Brandon listens to his dad, unlike his older brother, who didn't listen to anybody. Ballooned up on tacos between fights. And then look at the result this past May 1st, right? Oh my gosh. You know what it looked like? Do you remember that scene on Me, Myself, and Irene where Jim Carrey is doing the John Ruiz special? That's what it looked like. It's like, what the hell are you doing, man? He looked like the oldest 31-year-old fighter I've ever seen in the ring. It was an embarrassment. So Brandon has a lot. Boy, he's got a lot riding on this one. For the family name, for the reputation. And in my opinion, unless he actually, well, tries to box from mid to long range through certain periods of this fight, he's going to get knocked out. He's got a great chin. He's got heavy hands just like his brother, but he also has no defense just like his brother. And Luis Neri, this guy is one of the hardest punchers in and around that division. Your thoughts on this matchup before we move forward?
Oh, no, I agree with you 100%. I think, Brandon Figueroa, like you say, he likes to use his defense with his face. He makes his face a punching bag. If he can somehow work on his defense, like you say, able to control from mid to long range and able to keep that up for 12 strong rounds, it's possible he could come out the victor. But that's not what history showed us. And I don't think that you're going to be able to change that, going into your next fight. History shows us that Brandon Figueroa, he likes to hold his nuts and come straight at you and, in real Mexican style, fight it out. I think Luis Neri Hernandez is too strong of a puncher. And I think stylistically that fits his style. And I'm like you, Joseph, if he don't fix his defense, he's getting knocked out in this fight.
Otherwise, something else he could possibly do if Brandon Figueroa maybe smothers Luis Neri's offense, because he likes to catch you as you're coming in, right? But if Brandon Figueroa is able to get inside successfully and just continue working him against the ropes to the body and head, he may be able to work at a pace that Luis Neri is uncomfortable working at, right? That's his other best chance for victory if he's not going to be smart, fight a disciplined fight, and move in and out of range, right? His other chance is to stay in the pocket, lean on Luis Neri, and force him to fight at a much faster pace than he's used to fighting. But I tell you what, guys, this has Fight of the Year written all over it. Look for there to be multiple knockdowns in this fight. This is going to be a great one, right? The entire broadcast is going to be really good. In the co-main event, you've got the WBC mandatory challenger is going to be decided by Daniel Roman versus Ricardo Franco. Once again, two guys who bring it, two guys who just like to fight in the pocket and throw a lot of punches. Great fight. And in the opening bout, you're going to have Xavier Martinez, undefeated prospect, taking on veteran Juan Carlos Mini Burgos, a guy who is a very tough guy and is very hard to put away. He's not great offensively at this stage of his career, but he should give some entertaining resistance to Xavier Martinez. Guys, it's going to be a great fight card on Showtime from Carson, California. The fans are really going to win on this one. If you're in Southern California, guys, go get tickets. Go see this one live. It's going to be a very, very fun fight card to watch. You know what I think is interesting, though, brother? In PBC's most recent two events, they've been catering to the Mexican demographic.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you think that is? Do you think Heyman is finally listening to the very smart people around him and say, hey, you know what? We need to start incorporating more Hispanic fighters to appeal to the large Mexican demographic who are purchasing these tickets and buying these pay-per-views? Your thoughts on that?
Oh, no, I agree 100%. You know, anytime you go into business, especially, you know, when you being successful coming from other business ventures, you think you're able to do it your way. But if you're a smart businessman and when you see your way is not working, you can look at these last two at the last one he put on with Areola versus Ruiz, and this one he put on now with Figueroa and them. You could show that he learned his lesson. Is finally starting to have understanding that, hey, man, this Mexican appeal that's in boxing is true, and I better run with it, because if I don't run with it, then I'm gonna continue to make mistake after mistake after mistake after mistake. So let me give Al Heyman credit on that. Finally, Al Heyman, finally, in my rock voice, you're starting to listen.
Yeah, Tom Brown is an excellent matchmaker, and he's proven himself to be an excellent promoter as well. So it's about time that Heyman starts to give some control to Tom Brown, and so he can execute his leadership. So we're gonna go to the next one, brother, and this is something that, well, I heard you talk about on last night's program on your channel, right?
Mm-hmm.
Look at the ticker. What does that say, Karray?
The ticker say, "Where is Errol Spence versus your Danis Ugas?" Sorry about that.
Yeah, where is that? Look, according to from what I've been told, they're scheduled to meet in July in a unification bout. Where is that fight? Why hasn't it been announced? Why hasn't that deal been brokered? What's going on with Heyman and Fox?
That's the $1 million question.
Is he trying to see if they have enough money to negotiate a deal and offer Canelo more money? Is that why they're waiting for this? What is going on? Because in my opinion, this fight should have already been announced. Are they trying to make Spence versus Pacquiao at the 11th hour? What's going on with this? And you said something interesting. You actually like Yordenis Ugas' chances in this fight. Why?
I like his chances in this fight because I know Yordenis Ugas is a slick Cuban fighter, you know, and he's a veteran, and he's a guy who has ample amount of amateur experience, right? And I just look at a guy like Errol Spence. I don't look at Errol Spence as the same as I used to look at him. I'm not saying he's not an excellent fighter. Absolutely, he's an excellent fighter. But once again, in boxing, you must take this sport seriously around the clock. And the perception of Earl Spence, he's a guy who likes to party. And I think eventually in life, in any profession you do, if you like to party like that, if you're an athlete, eventually it'll catch up with you. And I think your Daniel Ugas got a style that could make this catch up for Earl. I know Earl's a physically stronger guy. I know Earl is going to be the one who favored in this fight. But in my opinion, I think for the betterment of boxing, I think Ugas winning this fight will be great for boxing. It'll show all the young fighters around the world when you have opportunities and you're at the pinnacle to make the most money that you can make, you don't play with that. So I think for boxing, I think we need Ugas to win this fight. Now, of course, absolutely, I think Earl is favored to win this fight, but I think Ugas has a slick style, veteran. We seen him in that fight with Sean Porter. He gave that dude fits. A lot of people, including myself.
Oh, hold on, Karray. I need to cut you off there, man. I need to cut you off. So what you're telling me is you think it's going to be better for the sport of boxing if a Cuban who doesn't sell tickets to win this fight over a genuine attraction like Errol Spence Jr.?
Oh, yes, sir.
You think that's going to be better for the sport?
Yeah, and I'm not. No, the thing.
Oh, okay. Hold on, brother, and I mean this in the most respectful way possible, Karray. But brother, are you smoking crack? Come on, man.
No.
Okay. Let me just put this here, okay? Because I've analyzed this style matchup, and this is why Errol Spence is going to shut him out. And Ugas may win maybe 2 or 3 rounds, right? He's a counterpuncher by trade. All Cuban fighters are counterpunchers, right? That's how they're taught in the Cuban amateur school. They're all that way. They never take the lead. The only prize fighter I've ever seen from Cuba to fight in an entertaining, aggressive style is Yuriorkis Gamboa. That's it. But these guys, these Cubans, they don't take risks. Okay, and what they look for is openings. They look for openings to let their hands go. They only throw as much as their opponent throws in return. That's why Yordenis Ugas had so much success against a guy like Sean Porter, who likes to let his hands go. Okay, shout out to True Boxing. Thank you for joining us, my friend. He says this: Spence is bad for the sport because of his actions. They're not healthy for the sport. Very true, brother. No one likes a chronic alcoholic and a guy who has a DWI to be the poster boy for boxing. But this wouldn't be the first time, my friend, that someone who's been in trouble with the law and who isn't a squeaky clean choir boy to be the face of boxing. This is why it's boxing, right? I mean, this is why they fight most of the time. And once again, let's put this up there. There you go. True Boxing agrees with IOTBA. Okay. But let me tell you why it's going to be bad for the sport if Yordenis Ugas wins. Because he couldn't sell out my living room on a Saturday night. Boxing needs more ticket sellers. They need more mainstream attractions. And Yordenis Ugas, who doesn't know English and fights, well, not in the most aesthetically pleasing style, has no chance of becoming a crossover star. None. Zilch. It would be bad for boxing. And let me tell you why he won't win. Because once again, he's a counterpuncher by trade. He's a counterpuncher by trade. How much success do counterpunchers have against Errol Spence jab? Karray, you know the answer to this. Go ahead and say it.
No, I agree. No, I agree with your assessment.
Okay, well, let me finish. Of course you're going to agree because it's the truth. Look, Errol Spence, his intelligent jab always offsets the timing and rhythm of a counterpuncher. He has his way with those guys. He shoots the jab, the right hand to the body and the head sporadically in disjunct intervals, and he mixes it up with feints, touch jabs, hard sticking jabs to the body and head. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And again, thank you, True Boxing, for joining us. And I'm going to address every single one, right, of your comments. And this is great. I love this dialogue, man. So thank you for participating with us, brother, and joining us. But I'm telling you, Ugas, he is going to be a 4 or 5 to 1 betting underdog, and Errol Spence will be an 8 to 10 betting favorite because of the style matchup. Errol Spence could conceivably win this fight with the right hand alone, with his footwork moving in and out of range, with the jab freezing Yordenis Ugas. He's going to have just as much success as Danny Garcia or Kell Brook. You can take it to the bank at the most. So here it is. Let's see. What's the next one? Spence doesn't want to be great. Absolutely. I have no idea. I talked about this on last night's show, but Karray, what are your thoughts on Errol Spence Jr. not wanting to be great? Do you agree with True Boxing? Does he not want to be great?
It's hard to. It's hard to say that Spence doesn't want to be great because he's a unified champion. I would just say the way he's approaching this Terrence Crawford situation, it leaves a bad taste in a lot of boxing fans' mouth. But I wouldn't necessarily say he doesn't want to be great, because to make it to be unified champ, it shows that you have something in you. So I don't agree with that all the way. I think he wants to be great. It's just like he just leave a bad taste in people's mouth with a lot of things that he do.
Okay, thank you for Haplotype for joining us this evening. Thank you, my friend. He puts this on, right? Wanting to be great and being great are two different things. Thank you. Thanks for joining us, brother. But here's one that I'd like to talk about, and I want you to clarify this for me, because ignorance in its literal definition means that you just don't know, right? And so our brother True Boxing, he just wrote this. Joseph, don't be ignorant. Karray, how should I address this, brother?
I like the thing.
Okay. I'm going to break this down, guys. I'm going to break this down, right? See, you're True Boxing. You're looking at this as a fan, looking in terms of legacy and the fights that you want to see and that sort of thing. But you can't ignore that Errol Spence Jr. is one of the biggest ticket sellers in boxing right now, in America, in the American market, right? He's one of the biggest ticket sellers that PBC definitely has. And he is much better for the sport and a much recognizable names that actually has some mainstream juice. He's much better for the sport of boxing than Yordenis Ugas. So with my knowledge of the business, as well as my knowledge of the X's and O's of the sport, please explain how I'm ignorant to this situation, True Boxing. Seriously, I really want you to explain how I'm being ignorant by just stating the truth. Okay, let's see this. Joseph, know you're the fan. Spence ain't good for the sport. You don't want it. We need fighter who wants it. Duh, I am speaking in English, dude. Okay, no, you're speaking like a fan. You're speaking. Look. I realize that the best fight that anyone can make in the welterweight division is Spence versus Crawford. And until they make that fight, I'm not supporting any of these pay-per-views. Karray, did I say anything about purchasing
Nope.
Spence versus Yordenis Ugas?
Nope.
Did
You
I?
ain't with it. Nope.
Am
You're
I?
not with it.
Am I promoting that pay-per-view?
No, sir. You're not with it.
Absolutely not. You're absolutely right. It is not good for the sport that the best continuously avoid the best. Right? So here's the next one. So why isn't Spence versus Crawford happening? And I'll tell you, you know exactly why it's not happening. Look, and I defined this on last night's show, right? And once again, just to make things clear, True Boxing, once again, you're thinking like a fan. I'm not a fan. I've been covering the sport for the past 20 years. I have no emotional vested interest in any of these fighters. I am pro sport. Okay, what's best for the health of the sport, I'm going to endorse. What's not good for the health of the sport, I'm not going to endorse. And that's where my allegiance lies. I have no allegiance to any specific fighter or platform, right? Just make that clear. But there's a reason why Spence versus Crawford isn't happening. I don't agree with it, but I'll tell you why it's not. Because Heyman views it as too much risk for the reward. Spence is already making millions of dollars fighting everybody else. And he remains right now PBC's biggest attraction. And when you consider what happened the last time Heyman decided to make an interpromotional event between Wilder and Tyson Fury, how did that turn out for Heyman? Was it a good thing? Oh, here's another one. Look at this one. This is a good one. Listen to this. Look at this. True Boxing writes, so you're right and everyone else wrong. Dude, your ego is out of control. Brother, I have no ego. It's just what I know. Right? It's just what, dude, I've been covering this sport for the past 20 years. Dude, don't get in your feelings, man.
He sound like
dude, don't get in your feelings, brother. Hey, man. Hey, I tell you what, why don't you get a mic? Right? I'll send you the link and you can come on and you can speak your piece on this show if you'd like. You want to do that? You want to do that?
You think he wants to step up to the plate, Joe?
I have no idea, but this is interesting now. He thinks I'm actually speaking as an egotist. Brother, I'm a journalist. Like, dude, I'm very pro-boxing, right? And he says, this is why we need Spence to lose to Ugas. You know what? Whether or not you want, right, Spence to lose to Ugas, he's not going to. There's a reason why this fight is being made and not the fight with Crawford. Right? This is why it's being made and not the fight with Crawford. Because the Crawford fight is an even money matchup. Errol Spence is a very good matchup against Ugas. He knows he has the advantage. He owns counterpunchers. This is the real reason why this fight is being made. Okay. So our brother Haplotype writes this. Spence could make way more, and so can Heyman if Spence crosses over, meaning beating the best competition. He's not doing that. Everyone has an ego, and that's what's wrong with boxing, right? That's what's wrong with boxing. But hey, let's focus on the fights that are being made. Like everyone belly aches and points out the matchups that aren't being made. And guess what? In a week and a half, May 22nd, we're going to be treated to Jose Ramirez versus Josh Taylor, a unification bout. Instead of belly aching about Spence not fighting Crawford, why don't we just lift that fight up and start talking about that, right? Hey, yeah, okay, dude. Look, True Boxing Day, don't get in your feelings, brother. It's okay. It's okay, man. Look, I'm just talking about the business of boxing and explaining this, why this hasn't happening. Hold on, let's see. Hold on, what is this now? Look at Joseph running from what Haplo said, like I said, you're okay. What did he say?
He said Spence could make way more, and so can Heyman. If Spence crossing over mean beating the best comp, he's not doing that. Referring to Earl Spence, everyone has an ego. Hashtag Floyd.
Yeah, that's a huge problem with boxing. Not just Spence and Heyman, but all fighters. These guys want to pick and choose. They're already making millions in their inflated purses fighting soft touches. So how much do you think they're going to expect to step in the ring against the best fighters available? Right? How much do you think they're going to expect? That's what's wrong with boxing. These overpaid prima donna bitches do not want to step in the ring and fight the best because they're already making a ton of money by fighting soft touches. Look how much Devin Haney's going to make for fighting old man Jorge Linares on May 29th. He's making $3 million. How much do you think he's going to demand to fight Teofimo Lopez then? That's what's wrong with the sport. So Haplotype, you said you didn't say that's what's wrong with boxing. I'm telling you, that's what's wrong with boxing. Too many of these guys want to be paid inflated purses to step in the ring against the best when the demand isn't there. Let me ask you something. How much do you think if Crawford versus Spence happened tomorrow, if the fight was announced tomorrow, how much do you think it would do on pay-per-view?
Ooh, I think it'll easily do 400 to 500 between 400 and 600,000 bucks.
Do you think that would justify the hefty purses that they would demand?
No, I don't think so. I think they
then why do they demand more money than a guy who puts up better numbers like Jake Paul? Jake Paul was only guaranteed 680,000, and he drew anywhere between 1.5 and 2 million purchases in his last event. So why are these prima donna bitches demanding so much money when they're drawing so much less? That's the problem with boxing. Okay, so we welcome Spencer. Issa Tassine Spencer, thank you for joining the show. Is it better if the promoters get that extra money? What extra money? What extra money? Look, look, Dana White, as much as I can't stand that bald prick, has the right idea. Okay, you give these guys deals on the back end based on the performance of their pay-per-view. You do not give it to them all up front because you have no idea how the pay-per-view is going to perform. But no, look, Spence, if he's already making between $5 and $8 million for lesser matchups, how much do you think he's going to demand in a pre-fight guarantee to take on one of the best pound-for-pound fighters in boxing, Terrence Crawford? He's going to demand anywhere between $10 and $20 million. And guess what, guys? It's not there. It's not there. So this is what Haplo says. That's your opinion. I partially agree. However, some guys are fighting the best, so I cannot say that's what's wrong with boxing as a whole. You're right. Josh Taylor and Jose Ramirez are fighting each other, and they're fighting each other for much lesser money on regular ESPN. That's right. There are, but those guys, right? I should say this. Let's narrow this down. That's what's wrong with most American fighters. I'll dwindle it down to American fighters. Mm-hmm. For some reason, they all want to be Floyd Mayweather. All of them. Look at Teofimo Lopez. Okay, he thinks he's worth $5 or $6 million just to fight George Kambosos. So now he's fighting on. So now he's fighting on Triller. Guys, realistically, how do you think that pay-per-view performs, Karray? Guys, please comment on this. How well do you think that pay-per-view performs?
I'm not sure. I don't even know if he do over 100,000. I don't know how many
Look,
people are
because of these
interested.
guys' egos, that pay-per-view is already on a very crowded evening, June 19th. You know how many other events are going on for free that night? And Triller's going to try to jam a pay-per-view down our throat without a mainstream name attached to it, like Jake Paul or like Mike Tyson. Guess what? It's going to be a very bad look for boxing. And what the guys from Triller, for what Jake Kavanaugh is going to say, he's going to say, or Ryan Kavanaugh, I'm sorry, what he's going to say is, well, why on earth are these guys demanding so much money and they're not performing? They're underachieving. Their pay-per-views don't draw nearly as much. So guess what? I'm going to stop paying these guys inflated purses because their pay-per-views aren't performing. That's what's wrong with boxing. There are two primary issues that are the biggest problems that boxing faces right now, right? No. Here, look, I'm going to put this up, guys. Yes, Scott70 joins us and he says, Triller will take a bath on Tio versus Kambosos. Yes, it will, both at the live gate as well as the pay-per-view, and it's not going to be good for the sport. It's going to be very, very bad for boxing. Is Tio going to be on a celebrity fight card? Not anymore. Because now Evander Holyfield is off that fight card. It's going to be all prize fighters. It's going to be all active fighters. And when it flops on its ass, Ryan Kavanaugh is going to say, nope, we are not going to fund any of these fight cards any longer. Haplotype states, there you go. That I can agree with. I'd add that they want to be Floyd Mayweather without putting in the Floyd work. Got to remember that Floyd was taking less money in the check. Okay, that's a very good point. Now, look, here's the difference between Floyd Mayweather Jr. when he was coming up with Top Rank and Teofimo Lopez coming up with Top Rank. Floyd had already unified two divisions, 30 and 35, before he actually moved up to 40 and wanted to get out of his contract with Top Rank. He had already been a professional for 9 years, right? These guys, Teofimo Lopez, already wants Floyd money, and he's never even headlined his own fight card. Do you realize this is the first time the Triller event in Miami is going to be the very first time he's the A-side headliner for a fight card? We don't even know if he can sell tickets or sell pay-per-views.
Hey, Hoplo just made a great point. He said Floyd was in the backseat to the Prince, Tyson, and Jones, and others for a long time.
Yeah, let's go back and look at that. Let's look at his history, right? Floyd didn't even start making big money until he got the opportunity from Oscar De La Hoya. If you remember, his very first pay-per-view was against Arturo Gatti on a main event. This is when he got out of his contract with Top Rank and he momentarily worked for Main Events and the Duvas. Guess who was the A-side on that promotion? That was Arturo Gatti. He made more money than Floyd that night. He was the A-side and he was the bigger attraction, right? Nope, you're forgetting about two. Haplo, you're forgetting about two pay-per-views. We're going to go over this, right?
Hey,
then
True Boxing, pipe down. Hold up real quick, Joe. True Boxing, pipe down. I promise you. You would not.
You're saying you would smoke me in a debate? Wow, brother. Hey, let me send you an invitation here, man. Let me send you an invitation, dude. Seriously, I want you to come on and see if you can smoke me in a debate, right? Because, dude, I guarantee you don't know the business like I do. You haven't been in the business like I have. You haven't worked with guys like Emmanuel Stewart, Don Chargan, Ronnie Shields, right? You haven't worked with those guys. And until you actually work with someone who is able to teach you the business, you don't know half as much as you think you do, young man. Sorry. Okay, well, why don't you disclose what you know and how long you've been in the business? So maybe we can even the playing field, right? Okay, so once again, Gaddy, after the Gaddy pay-per-view, Haplo, right? He did a pay-per-view with Zab Judah. And then after that, he did a pay-per-view with Carlos Baldomir. And I think the biggest numbers he achieved were 325,000 with Zab Judah. So he was putting up like Errol Spence numbers, right? Before he took on that event with Oscar De La Hoya and then exploded, right? So by the time he took on Oscar De La Hoya, he had already been a fight veteran and a professional for 11 years. Okay. True Boxing Saints, I've been in business before you started drinking Similac milk. So now what, smart guy? Okay, well, if that were true, then you would understand why a Southpaw Cuban who couldn't sell out my living room would not be better for the sport of boxing than having Spence. You are out of your mind. Okay, brother, how many Cubans have been legitimate ticket sellers in draw in professional boxing? How many? I'll wait. Brother, you have no fucking clue what you're talking about. Ugas would be better for the sport than Spence. Man, get the fuck out of here, dude. You've been in the business since before I was drinking Similac. Get the fuck out of here, dude. Oh my gosh. Oh, a Cuban would be better for the sport of boxing. A guy who can't sell tickets and doesn't know English. Oh, that would be much better for the sport of boxing. Man, get the true boxing. Dude, I think that's the biggest misnomer I've ever seen. You should change your avatar to false boxing, motherfucker. And there you have it. Motherfucker. Dude, Spence is hurting boxing. Brother, there are a lot of things that are hurting boxing. You know what the biggest, and once again, everyone keeps talking about this bullshit. Oh, the best not fighting the best. That's the biggest problem that boxing has. Bullshit. It's piracy, dude. Piracy. Have you ever researched the numbers? Do you realize how much piracy is hurting the sport? Do you realize how much that is crippling the sport? Yet these fighters continue insisting on these huge inflated purses when no one is purchasing these events. That's the biggest problem with boxing. Not Spence. Dude, he's just one fighter, and he's not even the biggest draw in the sport. Goodness gracious, man. A Cuban would be better for the sport.
But see, the thing is,
than Errol Spence. Goodness. Yeah, let's wait and see if a Cuban can actually sell out an arena. Right? Let's wait and see. Guy who doesn't know English. Right? A counterpuncher.
Hey,
now let's see if he can actually sell out an arena or sell tickets. Let's see if he can actually get a 4 million share on any network. That's never happened. That's never happened. You have anything else for me, Untrue Boxing? Let's see. So Spence and Wilder ain't hurting boxing, buddy. I'll say this: Wilder and his cult of weirdos, yes, that is bad for boxing, right? That is very bad for boxing. All of these absurd, delusional accusations. Look, I guarantee you, here's the biggest dilemma of that, though. All of the Wilderettes, all of Wilder's delusional clan members, guess what? They're not paying for any of these events. Okay, and once again, I've done the research. I'm a journalist. Here's the proof is in the numbers, right? Even though those idiots, man, demanded $25 million guaranteed before their second fight together, Wilder and Fury. It was stated by Bob Arum it needed to do at least 1.3, 1.2 million pay-per-view purchases domestically in order to turn a profit for both Fox and ESPN. Guess what? It only did about 850,000. You know what? And once again, because I'm a musician also, I went through the music tracking system. Do you know how many people illegally streamed that fight? 15 million worldwide. Oh, I'm going back to you, haplotype. I'm going back to it, brother. I'm not finished. But so that is the biggest problem in boxing, not Errol Spence. He's just one fighter. The biggest problem in boxing is piracy and inflated purses, right? There's a reason why these fighters aren't fighting each other, because they're making millions of dollars for soft touches already. Where's the incentive for these guys to challenge themselves and fight the best? In my opinion, those are the two biggest problems in boxing, not Errol Spence. All right? So it is as Joseph talks a lot about pay-per-view buys. I know how the business works. Good. I'm glad you do, and that's probably why you're listening to the show. If you do understand how the business works, then you know what a calamity it is right now. These guys demanding terribly inflated purses, and no one's purchasing these events. Okay. No, Errol Spence's number one problem. Okay, explain to me how then. Explain to me how
Joseph,
he is the number one problem.
Joseph,
explain.
Let me chime in.
Because that doesn't make any sense. Go ahead, Karray.
Let me chime in on this. I know I started a whirlwind on this with you and True Boxing. My thing is, I think for the betterment of the sport, and I know it may be a fool. I know Errol Spence has a wider fan base, but his actions in the boxing and what he's doing, not trying to put on the great fights that need to be made, it's like absurd to me. And the reason why I was saying that, I favor Earl to win this fight. I just said that because I think if Errol Spence lose this fight, it'll send a message to all the young fighters and all the big-time fighters out here right now. Stop playing when you get to the pinnacle. Take advantage of the opportunity when it's in your face. Like, that's just how I feel on it. I think it needs to be a landscape change in boxing to one of these big-time fighters who think they are God, walking on, they are the gods of boxing. It needs to be a landscape change in boxing to where a guy like Errol Spence Jr. get humbled and understand the essence of the roots of the fruits where it started for him in boxing. And I think he lost.
Okay, here. This is, okay, Haplotype writes this. Welter, glamour division of boxing for years now. Here we have a guy who won't fight the best. Worst thing in boxing. And once again, this is why I asked, if Crawford versus Spence were made today, right? If Crawford versus Spence were made today, how much would it do on pay-per-view? And IOTB, what was your answer?
Between 400 to 600K.
Okay, it would probably do about $500,000, about as well as Pacquiao versus Thurman, right?
Thurman.
Okay, so something that doesn't even crack 1 million purchases. How can that be the biggest problem that boxing faces? See, that doesn't make any sense. It doesn't even do Canelo numbers. How can that be the biggest problem in boxing? How can that be? How can that be the biggest problem in boxing? Explain that one to me. Okay, that is a huge event for boxing diehards, but guess what? Once again, because of the piracy issue, boxing diehards aren't purchasing these events any longer. Statistics have proven this. Errol Spence is the only semi-mainstream name in this equation. Crawford isn't a mainstream commodity. Of course, I'm sick of Spence's diva shit.
Yeah, but I
look at this. Look at this, dude. Everyone's sick of Spence diva shit. You should too, buddy. Of course I am, brother. But I'm not thinking like a fan. There are much bigger problems in the business of boxing currently. The primary issue in boxing right now is the piracy issue. And until the powers that be figure this out, the networks, the promoters, guess what? Boxing will be crippled as a result of it. And guess what? We won't get the big matchups that we want because no one's buying them. Until these fighters realize that that's a huge problem and start taking less guarantees, less big money, $1 million guarantees, they're not going to fight the best. That's what's holding the best matchups back. Right? Oh my gosh. Oh, geez. It's the biggest. You have a narrow view, stopping the next superstar from emerging, homie. So what you're telling me then, when you're saying pay-per-view numbers don't matter. Okay. Brother, that's how these events generate income. How can you say they don't matter? Oh, my word. I have no idea where TBA went. Okay. So what you guys are saying to me, you think that all of boxing's woes would be healed if Spence fought Crawford. Everything would be right in the world again. That's what you're saying. And I'm telling you guys are way off the mark, and you're wrong. The piracy issue, and I know this because of statistics, is the biggest problem that boxing faces today. I'm sorry. Let's see this. All right, guys. Well, I guess we'll reconvene when IOTBA wants to come back on. We'll reconvene here tomorrow. And True Boxing, brother, shoot me your email and I'll send you a link so we can debate tomorrow if you'd like. Okay? And I will prove to you that you're wrong. Right? So, guys, thank you for tuning in. Have a good day. We'll reconvene tomorrow. Shoot me your email on the comment board there, and I will send you a link so we can actually debate tomorrow. Have a good evening, everybody.